Dennis.
Check.
At my age, I like rumors.
At like 9:30.
It makes me look good.
In reality, I'm in bed by 9, but I want to hear some
But
rumors.
everybody, yeah, I want to hear the other stories.
Reading home.
I'm sorry, you don't have a life.
No, my VPN is.
I did too, but I had terrible lesson. I don't know why.
I did too.
I do my reading at home.
Those
so
hotel
it's
pillows, I
that's
just
why
bite
don't
those
well,
things all
I
night.
don't end up stroking out of
Because
it.
of course I'm
Okay.
Yeah.
No, not okay.
I hate this hotel, and that's probably
I have to.
I'm across.
I'm sure you did.
My first commission meeting.
Oh, well, it's
Yeah, it was
dark.
playing music for a while.
Like 560 something pages.
Yes.
And we get some of them, they get pretty big.
Really?
Well, you saw my little post.
Okay, I'm gonna call the meeting back to order.
Queen.
Nothing.
Test, test, test.
Wow.
What'd you do?
Test, test, test.
It's there, it's just very faint.
Did you call and tell me?
Okay, all right. We'll call the meeting back to order. We're gonna move to agenda item number 7, which is discuss and take action on final orders of amendment to existing and new TCO rules. Mr. Beecham is going to cover amendments 1 through 9 to begin with, and then we'll do 10 through 14 individually. We'll take 1 through 9 together, 10 through 14 individually.
Good morning, Commissioners. For your consideration, you have the final versions of the rules that were proposed in December. These rules have went through the public comment period, and we have received some public comment for some of the final amendments you will hear this morning. I'm going to break this down into essentially two sections. We're going to take amendments 1 through 9, unless any of you have any comments or questions regarding those amendments. We go through amendment number 1, definitions, training coordinators, minimum standards, reporting appointment and separation, appointing eligibility of telecommunicators, required continuing education for licensees, appointing entity responsibilities, school marshal licensing and reporting requirements, and final amendment number 9, the school marshal training entities. In your materials this morning, you have noticed a notice to 217.79B, subsection 5. These final amendments will include those clerical and typographical changes to final amendment number 4 as well. Final amendments number 1 through 9 for your considerations for final adoption.
Make a motion to approve amendments 1 through 9.
Have a motion
Second.
and a second. Is there any other discussion or questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Mr. Beecham.
Commissioners, if we can, let's take final amendment number 10 and 11 together. 10 is a repeal of the former 229.1. Final amendment number 11 is the new 229.1. Ask that these amendments, if you choose to adopt them, Rule 229.1 to substitute anywhere the word memorial appears, that the word capitalized memorial monument replace it. These are not substantive changes. You will find at least one of those in subsection A, another one in subsection B, in anywhere throughout that rule that I might have missed while looking at it right now. For your consideration with those changes, final amendment number 10 and number 11.
I make a motion to approve amendment number 10 and 11 with the changes.
I'll second.
Have a motion in 2 seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Mr. Beecham.
Commissioners, I will put a final amendment number 12, 13, and 14 for your consideration. Number 12 is a repeal of 229.3. Amendment number 13 is the new 229.3, 229.3 on both of those. We will look for the same changes in 229.3A, substituting and capitalizing the word memorial monument. and also where it occurs in subsection B, C, D, and E. And I will also make an addition, a non-substantive addition to subsection C, so that it will read, if adopted, the commission shall review the recommendations of the executive director concerning names of deceased officers for inclusion on the memorial monument, that's with our additions made today, at a regularly scheduled meeting and make its final determination according to Article 3105.0035 Texas Government Code. This change is proposed in response to public comment and to comport with Texas Government Code 3105.0035. For your consideration, final amendment number 12, 13, and 14 with those changes.
I make a motion to approve amendment number 12, 13, and 14 with the listed changes.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll go now into agenda item number 8, which is discuss and take action on proceedings for revocation, suspension, and other disciplinary action. Mr. Winter.
Good morning, Commissioners. The first items for your consideration on the disciplinary agenda are officers who fail to respond to notice of the executive director's disciplinary proceedings and consequently are subject to the entry of default orders suspending their licenses for criminal misconduct. These officers on your agenda are Isaiah M. Cardenas, Carlton B. Freeney Jr., Daniel P. Henderson, Fernando Hernandez, Jace S. Mulechek, Joaquin Pardo, Kenneth Pino, Richard Taylor, Stephanie M. Vega, and Anthony W. Woolley. And there is backup information in your materials describing the offenses and allegations against them. But in each case, they committed an offense that resulted in a criminal disposition giving rise to proceedings to suspend their licenses. They failed to respond to notice of the executive director's disciplinary proceedings and they are now subject to entry of default orders, which the executive director recommends.
Commissioner Hollingsworth.
I move that the commission accept and adopt the recommendations of the executive director to enter a default final order as authorized under the provisions of 37 Texas Administrative Code, Section 223.3, as required in the provisions of the Texas Occupation Code, Chapter 1701, Section 1701-501, to suspend the licenses of the list that was read into the record by Mr. Winter, beginning with Isaiah M. Cardenas and ending with Anthony W. Woolery.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Mr. Winter.
Commissioners, the next individual for your consideration is Frida D. Clark. Frida Clark was a telecommunicator and a jailer licensed by the commission. Subsequent to the issuance of the credential, the executive director's staff came into information establishing that Frida Clark was ineligible to hold the license provided and consequently instituted proceedings to cancel the license as Frida Clark was not eligible to hold that license to begin with. Under this procedure, the licensee is entitled to an opportunity for a contested case hearing to challenge the cancellation. Clark failed to respond in a timely fashion to preserve the right for a contested case hearing on the cancellation and is consequently subject to a default order canceling the licenses, which the executive director recommends be entered by the commission at this time.
Commissioner Hollingsworth.
I move that the commission accept and adopt the recommendations of the executive director to enter a final default cancellation order to cancel the license of Frida D. Clark.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, please.
How did this happen on this particular one, do we know?
Most of the cancellations that we get, because of the numbers around the state of licensees and people coming in to be licensees, the system is built and has been for the history that I know, where we rely on the agency. They sign the L1 as a sworn document saying this person meets all of the requirements. And we have to rely on that for the veracity of that, because we can't pre-approve every one of them because of the numbers simply that are out there. So in our audits of these agencies, coming in behind that, our field agents, they check for the validity of these items. And when we find them where the agency made a mistake or chose to ignore or overlooked and allowed these people to go ahead and be licensed, then we go back and cancel that license. We take further action on that. We stand on the premise that mistakes are going to be made. And if it's a mistake, we're going to help them fix it. If we have any indication, especially with multiple offenses over time, and we see the same problem over and over, then we start to take corrective action on the head of the agency through their license, either through letters of reprimand all the way up to levels of suspension for violation of rules in doing this. So many times this is simply a mistake that was made, and we're trying to help them rectify it. But we understand that if we see a pattern and a continuing negligence on the part of a chief administrator in their hiring practices, that we do take action on their license.
Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, have a motion and a second. Any other questions or discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Mr. Winter.
Commissioners, the next individuals for your consideration committed criminal misconduct that resulted in the institution of proceedings by the executive director to revoke their peace officer and/or jailer licenses. These individuals failed to respond in a timely fashion to the notice of the institution of disciplinary proceedings, and consequently are now subject to the entry of default orders revoking their peace officer and/or jailer licenses. Those individuals are John M. Martinez, who holds both a jailer and a peace officer license, Gilbert Melendez, a peace officer, and Lance D. Mize, a jailer.
Commissioner Hollingsworth.
Move that the commission accept and adopt the recommendations of the executive director to enter a default final order as authorized under the provisions of 37 Texas Administrative Code 223.3 as required under the provisions of 1701, Section 1701-501 to revoke the licenses of John M. Martinez, Gilbert Melendez, and Lance Mize.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Questions or discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Mr. Winter.
Commissioners, the next individuals all committed misconduct resulting in the institution of disciplinary action to suspend their licenses. The executive director offered these individuals the opportunity to agree to these proceedings, and they have done so in a preliminary settlement agreement. There's a proposed agreed order for all three of these individuals that would result in suspension of their licenses. The individuals are Monty P. Neighbors, who has a jailer license and a peace officer license, Monica Ramirez, a jailer, and Patrick D. White, a jailer and a peace officer. And the executive director recommends entry of these agreed orders of suspension.
Commissioner Hollingsworth.
Move that the commission accept and adopt the recommendations for the executive director to enter a final agreed suspension waiver for Monty P. Neighbors, Monica O. Ramirez, and Patrick D. White.
Second.
A motion and a second. Is there any discussion or questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Mr. Winter.
Commissioners, next for your consideration on the agenda is a proposal for decision regarding Joshua Grant. However, at this time, due to a post-proposal for decision motion filed by the petitioner and a notice issue, I would recommend that we pass on any decision on this particular agenda item today.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Winter.
Commissioners, the other remaining disciplinary matters are for your information only. No action is required by the commission. There's a statutory revocation for a double dishonorable. As you know, the law provides that if a individual receives 2 dishonorable discharges on an F5, that they are then subject to a mandatory and automatic statutory revocation, and that is the case here. No action is required. There are also the identification of a number of individuals, peace officers and jailers, who have surrendered their licenses permanently in connection with criminal proceedings, and they are also, for your information, also identified are individuals who received reprimands for failure to complete their statutorily required continuing education, and also for failure to comply with administrative requirements such as the report of an arrest. And no action is required for these individuals.
Okay, thank you. We'll move then to agenda item number 9, which is receive public comment on any topic without action. I don't have anyone signed up to speak, but is there anyone here who would like to address the commission? Seeing the big rush toward the microphone, I think we are not going into executive session today, and so agenda item number 12 is to adjourn, and we'll stand that way until June 14th at 9:30 right here. Thank you guys for coming today.